Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, welcome everybody. Well, this is JoJo, and I want to say hello to everybody. And I want to tell y'all welcome to the Ladies of Liberty radio show. I'm JoJo Norton, and Anna is going to be here with me tonight, and Carol Ray is going to be with me tonight. And today's Wednesday, April the 30th, 2014. Our call-in number is 347-202-0407. What this is, the Ladies of Liberty, is just kind of a knockoff show from Moretti Underground. And what we've done is Michael Nunley and Brent Munlin are good friends of ours and help us research stuff. And they had a few extra slots in their Blog Talk Radio. And we have quite a research team, and our team is growing. So we needed a space and a place to do a few extra shows here and there. So that's what we're doing tonight. And we want to give a big thanks to Michael Nunley and Brent Munlin for, letting us share their Blog Talk with them. And I want to put a big word out for our crew. Lynn, who's I guess we call her our production manager. She's running the switchboard tonight. Scott, he's our techie guy. He does all of our tech stuff and pictures and downloads and sets stuff up for us. And then we have our team of researchers. We have Anna and Red and Cheryl and Kelshu and, of course, Joanne and Lisa. Lisa's been our on-the-ground reporter at the Bundy Ranch the last few weeks. So anyway, I kind of got a late start on all the breaking news today. So the last thing I heard was a bunch of the airports got shut down today. So I was kind of late breaking news on my way home, and Joanne kind of notified me about that. So I really still am not exactly sure what happened. It seems like there's a couple of stories out. One is there's a complete computer glitch, and one is they were resetting their computers or something like that. So, hang on, I got to go find the story. Anyway, so I'm really not sure what happened. My first thought was it was a solar flare. But I haven't been able to find anything out. I've only been home about an hour. So we're just going to say that it was like several hundred, there was 100 out of several hundred airports that had this problem. And they grounded everybody's. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the link. Oh. Well, moving right along, here we go. All flights were grounded at LAX, but it wasn't just LAX. It was Boston, it was Miami, it was a whole bunch of them. And they're blaming it on technical issues. They're temporarily grounded flights at Southern California airports. Well, it was a lot more than just Southern California. In California, and this came from KTLA 5, all flights were temporarily grounded at Southern California airports on Wednesday afternoon due to ground stop issue by the FAA because of technical problems at a regional air traffic control facility. The quote-unquote ground stop was announced by LAX on Twitter at 2:13 p.m., and the airport referred questions to the FAA. The FAA said it was gradually restoring the system. The stop was due to computer issues. That's what LAX is reporting. Flights were also grounded at Bob Hope Airport in Burbank, John Wayne Airport in Santa Ana, and Long Beach Airport in Ontario International Airport. So the first thing I did when I got home is I was trying to see if there was a solar flare or something like that going on, because I've been watching solar flares for a couple of years, and they're always directed the opposite of Earth. And, I'm thinking, someday one's going to be Earth-directed, and there we're going to be. So I still don't have any real news on that other than they said it was some kind of computer problem and or computer glitch. That's all I can find out for now. I know there's more to this story, but I just didn't have time to pull it together. So anyway, so let's talk about Benghazi for a minute. It seems to be that Ben Rhodes' brother works for CBS, where Cheryl Atkinson used to work. And there's a story out by Cheryl, and there's also one out by Breitbart. And Breitbart, see, Joanne has it easy. See, she's got a printer. She can print all this stuff and read it, and I'm trying to find it on the computer, so I'm going to be a little slower than Joanne. because I have to find it and then I have to get it where I can read it. This is from Breitbart. It says, a year ago, Ed Lasky of the American Thinker speculated that White House security official Ben Rhodes, a speechwriter with no prior national security experience or expertise, was at the heart of the Benghazi scandal. Specifically, the false talking points spouted on Sunday news shows by former UN ambassador, now security advisor Susan Rice. Hold on, y'all. I forgot one important thing here. Hang on just a second. Lynn, can you open Anna's mic? I forgot. Oh, wait, I'm here now. I can do it. Oh, Anna.
Yes, I'm here.
I forgot to open your mic. How dumb of me.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm listening.
Well, I was too busy worried about flipping around in this stupid computer trying to find these stories so I could try to do a report. So how was your day?
Long. You know, it was a long New York day.
Oh. Is that different from a Louisiana day?
Probably not much. Probably not much.
Okay, so have you been following this Benghazi story today that broke?
Yes. Yes, I have, actually.
Obviously, they lied. We're so shocked, aren't we?
No, yeah. But you know, you gotta love Jay Carney. I mean, seriously, this guy, I just laugh. I don't know. You gotta laugh to keep from crying, I think, because does he seriously believe, or at least think that the majority of people believe?
I don't know. I would be ashamed to even get up there. I didn't get to watch it. I briefly saw it on TV, and he had his head kind of cocked to the side, and I'm thinking, I would just walk off. I mean, there's got to be a certain point in time where you just can't keep telling this. I mean, you can't even call this a lie. It is so crazy.
No, it's an embarrassment, really. I'm embarrassed to be an American. The whole world is laughing at us.
So basically, Jay Carney said that. What did he say?
It wasn't about. Right. Jay Carney basically said that the email that was uncovered was not about Benghazi. So it had nothing to do with Benghazi. And seriously, the guy's there with a straight face, and you know, it's almost comical. It's almost comical, except for 4 Americans died.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's the part.
We all know Cheryl Atkinson got kind of put under the bus. They wouldn't report her story, and she's had a lot of problems. She wrote a story on April 29th, which was yesterday. She said, White House directed incorrect Benghazi narrative. Newly released documents revealed direct White House involvement in steering the public narrative about the September 11th terrorist attacks in Benghazi. One of the operative documents which the government had withheld from Congress and reporters for a year and a half is an internal September 14, 2012 email to White House press officials from Ben Rhodes, President Obama's assistant and deputy national security advisor, who also happens to be the brother of David Rhodes, the president of CBS News, where Cheryl was employed until last March. In the email, Ben Rhodes listed as a goal the White House desire to underscore that these protests are rooted in an Internet video and not a broader failure or policy. The email is entitled RE Prep Call with Susan, Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and refers to White House involvement in preparing then U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Susan Rice, for her upcoming appearance on Sunday Television Network political talk shows. The Rhodes email states that another goal is to reinforce the President and administration's strength and steadiness in dealing with difficult challenges. Now, remember, Cheryl had all those FOIAs out. She couldn't get any information.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
but
they said
Susan Rice like she was going to go on TV for a presidential debate. I mean, they actually coached her. And they have the nerve to say, nah, that's not what happened. It doesn't happen. It wasn't even about Benghazi.
And then our dear Senator Lindsey Graham, who is running for re-election, so, flip a coin on which way he's going to go, called the Rhodes emails the smoking gun, showing the political manipulation by the White House. He's one of the ones of the three that knew what was going on and was supposed to report it a week before the election and sat on it. Him, McCain, and Ayuk.
Yep.
He could have. Don't even get me started on him.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's the past. It's in the past, but it's hard to leave it in the past. I know exactly what you're trying to say.
I don't think we should ever. And I hope the people in South Carolina remember when they go vote for him, because he's up for re-election this year.
Yeah.
And Representative Jason Shavitz, I'm still on Cheryl's article, told me, being her, Cheryl, told me today that the government apparently tried to keep the Rhodes email out of Congress and the public's hands by classifying it after the fact. They retroactively changed the classification, Shavitz says. That was an unclassified document, and they changed it to classified. So, and, then they have their top-line points. And poses answers to a series of questions, apparently in preparation for the briefing to be provided by the Ambassador Rice prior to talk show appearances. So it's all out there. And then also Breitbart has an article, which I was starting to read when I realized that I had forgot to let you in on the show. But anyway, so you got to see that. We had a major fire and explosion in a train carrying crude oil, and it derailed in Lynchburg, Virginia. And it looked to me like that was in downtown Lynchburg from the pictures I saw.
That I'm not familiar with. I didn't.
Well, this happened today, I'm going to say around 2 p.m. And it was a huge fire and explosion. I think it was 10 or 12 cars derailed. And it says, this is from the Daily News. It says a train carrying crude oil derailed and crashed in downtown Lynchburg, Virginia, Wednesday, evacuating the immediate downtown area as it was seen billowing with extreme smoke and fire. The city says no injuries have been reported from the explosive crash around 2 p.m. The Depot Grill, which reportedly dumped crude oil into the James River. Lynchburg police and fire were actively at the scene while advising residents to stay out of the downtown area. So the city reports that 12 to 14 tanker cars were carrying crude oil when the CSX train crashed. Of those cars, 3 or 4 tanker cars were breached. Anyway, it was a major explosion. We sure have had a lot of those lately.
Yeah, we sure have.
Seems like they're averaging about once a month, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mhm.
They are. I'll tell you.
So,
you don't know what to believe anymore. I mean, it's almost to the point where you have to look at everything as if there's something behind it, something sinister.
I know, and the people, people that aren't keeping up with the news like we are, that want to, I'll bring up stuff all the time. Oh, where'd you hear that at? I'm like, well, I can, and I can produce some documents. Oh, no, they don't want to look and read nothing. They just want to put me down for, acting like I know something. Well, did you hear about, in Oklahoma today, they tried to do the lethal injection on this dude?
And he had a heart attack 40 minutes after they started it.
Oh, and it messed up. Well,
something clearly was wrong, though.
Oh, it sounds to me, what I've heard on the news, that his IV wasn't patent. In other words, when they started an IV to push the drugs in and it didn't go directly in his bloodstream, it probably, in other words, his IV probably wasn't any good. And that's what caused all the problems. Because
what are you saying, that they didn't hit the vein, or it wasn't? Why wasn't it going in properly?
Well, you can start an IV and then it'll blow, and sometimes you don't know it's blown until after you push the medicines. And then sometimes, it'll swell up real funny looking, and you'll know. And then sometimes, I don't know. That's what a brief synopsis of what I've heard, and that makes sense. And, the poor thing, he suffered for 40 minutes before he died of a heart attack. And see, some of those medicines they give you causes you to be paralyzed, which you're still awake and alert, but paralyzed.
First it's supposed to put you to sleep, and then it's supposed to paralyze you.
Well, I don't know what happened, chicken or the egg, and
right.
all that, and I don't want to sound hard-hearted, but it really doesn't matter to me, because I want to tell you something about Clayton Lockett, because that's his name. The mainstream media is playing up the tragedy of Clayton Lockett's botched execution. Since Lockett is finally dead, the execution succeeded at its task. Now, this is from the Front Page magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see who wrote it. Daniel Greenfield. I like him. He's on my Facebook page. None of the liberal readers shedding tears for Lockett care to remember why he ended up there. 2 words, Stephanie Neiman. Stephanie Neiman was proud. Well, she was 19 years old, had only graduated from high school 2 weeks. She was proud of her shiny new Chevy truck, and Neiman was dropping a friend off at a Perry residence on June 3rd, 1999. The same evening, Clayton Lockett and 2 friends decided to pull a home invasion robbery there. Neiman, the 19-year-old girl, fought Lockett when he tried to take the keys to her truck. She had just gotten this truck and was extremely proud of it. The men beat her and used to bind her hands and cover her mouth. Even after being kidnapped and driven to a dusty country road, Neiman didn't back down when Lockett asked if she planned to contact police. The men had also beaten and kidnapped Neiman's friend along with Bobby Bornt, who lived in the residence, and Bornt's 9-month-old baby. So the parents of this girl, Steve and Susie Neiman, asked jurors to give Lockett the death penalty. Lockett later told police he decided to kill Stephanie because she would not agree to keep quiet. Neiman was forced to watch as Lockett's accomplice, Sean Mathis, spent 20 minutes digging a shallow grave in a ditch beside the road. Her friend saw Neiman standing in the ditch and heard a single shot. Lockett returned to the truck because the gun had jammed. He later said he could hear Neiman pleading, "Oh, God, please, please," as he fixed the shotgun. The men could be heard laughing about how tough Stephanie was before Lockett shot Neiman a second time. He ordered Mathis to bury her, despite the fact that Mathis informed him Stephanie was still alive. So he shot her and then buried her alive.
Buried her alive. And they're worried about how his life ended.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his life ended nice and clean.
And someone named Hollins, I'm not sure who Hollins is, but Hollins told friends and relatives in a recent Facebook post, the death penalty is to kill a man for his injustice by lethal injection, not lethal supplication. Too bad Hollins wasn't so generous with Stephanie when he shot her twice and buried her alive. So anyway, that was a pretty good article.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
all
good.
right. I'm going to jump back over here. Well, Carol will be calling in a minute. So those are some of my top stories for the day. Any top stories you'd like to talk about? I have another big top story. It's going to take me a while to cover it, so and it's going to kind of lead into what Carol Ray's going to talk about also. But I tried to put all my stuff in one place. Oh, let me cover this real quick before Carol calls in. This was posted yesterday. A nurse, thank God for her, it's a psychiatric nurse where Justina is imprisoned, has filed a complaint. And this is, let me read this. I'm trying to see who, Human Events is the newspaper. This was written by Raquel Arquier. All right, here's the story. And this is from the day before yesterday. A Boston psychiatric nurse with care responsibilities for Justina Pelletier filed a mandated reporter compliant against Boston Children's Hospital, alleging unlawful imprisonment of Connecticut teen in custody by state authorities for 14 months. When clinicians at Boston Children's Hospital diagnosed Justina with somatic symptoms disorder, a psychological condition, in February 2013, Justina and at the hospital's initiative, Justina was placed against her will in a locked psychiatric unit, says Kathleen T. Higgins, RN, in her written complaint to the Department of Children and Families Commissioner Olga Roche. In a letter dated January the 8th, she wrote, this is the nurse, since April 23rd, 2013, I have been engaged with Linda Lou and Jennifer Pelletier, the parents and eldest sister of Justina, to facilitate Justina's discharge from Bader 5, inpatient psychiatric unit of Boston Children's Hospital, where she has been unjustly and illegally imprisoned for the past 9 months. And we know the story. We've reported it 1,000 times.
Right.
But the nurse says, the pronouncement that shattered Justina's life was rendered by a total stranger who sentenced her to undergoing the stress of radical changes in her basic medical care before being moved to a more secure area of BCH where contact with her family would be more severely limited and more strictly monitored. Higgins, who has over 20 years' experience in child psychology, reported that every facet of Justina's life that held meaning for her was removed and replaced with a state devoid of compassion and conscience. So thank God for this nurse to step up to the bat here and
I know it.
And file this complaint. So let me see if Carol's called in here. Nope, no Carol yet. So we've been following that story all along, and it's obvious, pretty obvious. I mean, she was at Turk's Medical Center getting medical care, and she ended up at
There's
Boston
something
Children's.
so wrong with it, so fundamentally wrong with it. And it could happen to anyone.
Well, and that's just it. Part of my story after Carol calls in is about some alternative medicine for children with seizures and neurological disorders. And I'm going to talk about that later on in the show. But these parents are mortified in fear because they have found an alternative medicine to help their children, but if they were to give it to them, the state would take the kids away. So, it's like, what do? You let your kid die because modern medicine's not working? Or
Right.
if you try to help them, they're going to take them away from you? I mean, I don't know. It's pretty scary. So, and I was just I didn't get to watch much news today, so I kind of came home and kind of threw some stuff together. But let's talk about the massive flooding. They got 20 inches of rain below I-10 in Mobile, Gulf Shores, Pensacola, Fort Walton, that whole Florida Panhandle and up into Alabama.
Yeah. Right.
And, I mean, it's not just flooding. I mean, massive amount of highways have been just washed away. I've seen some pretty horrible pictures.
Incredible, right?
Yeah,
well,
they got 20,
how can you
20
sustain 20 inches of rain in such a short period of time without, without massive sinkholes and mudslides and all? It just, you could go on and on with the damage that amount of rain in that short period of time can cause. Water is a.
And I this guy came in today, and he was leaving tomorrow, the next day, to go to Gulf Shores to play golf. And I said, well, they're flooded down there. Oh, no, it'll be all right in a couple of days. That water will run off. And I looked at him. I said, well, are you aware that quite a few roads have been washed away? It might not be a good idea to go down there.
Yeah.
But he's going anyway. I don't know how to get where he's going. But anyway, Carol Ray's here, so I'm going to open up her mic. And let's see what she's up to. Hello, Carol Ray.
Hey, ladies. First,
hi, Carol.
Hey, Anna. How are you?
I'm doing good.
All right. Well, I want to definitely say hello to Lisa and Joanne and Kelly, all the ladies on the radio show, and to Michael and Brent, and for everybody to be sure and tune in to Michael and Brent's radio show tomorrow night. It's going to be a very interesting radio show.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that guy a little bit, but we need to be sure and thank Lynn, because Lynn, thank goodness, is running our switchboard tonight, because
yes,
I haven't ran a switchboard in a long time.
Hey, Lynn, JoJo's going to owe you another extra bottle of pickled eggs. That's what we're all getting paid for, all the work
there you
we're
go.
doing. Yeah, I'm still waiting for my bottle. But anyway, tonight what I want to talk about is there's some interesting things that came up today. The Federal Reserve had held a meeting, and they have decided to taper the bond buying to $45 billion monthly from $55 billion. Another interesting thing is for the total month of May, the injection of POMO is $24 billion. And get this, ladies, the Fed stated economy picked up, consumer demand rising more quickly. But I can knock that down in a heartbeat because investment websites and financial news stated consumer confidence fell to 82.3 in April. March reading was revised up to 83.9 from 83.2. It's falling again. In other words, consumers are not secure about our economy, as we all know. And then all these stores who are closing, like Coldwater Creek announced that they're closing, and then I think, some of the dollar stores are closing also. So
Family Dollar, I believe.
Family Dollar.
No,
Why?
don't tell me. That's my favorite.
Well, Anna, I'm sorry, but they are. And the economy is not doing well, folks. So don't let the Federal Reserve and our financial wizards in our government tell you that it is. All right? Then the next thing to prove that they're wrong, nearly half of New York City citizens are struggling to make ends meet. Now, isn't that interesting? And then yesterday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out with their report. And in that report, it said 20% of Americans do not have a job. 20%. So where was that 7-point-something or 6-point-something the Federal Reserve said was unemployed? That's not true. And then we have 1/5 of American families in the entire country do not have one single member with a job that has a job. In other words, 41% of Americans are unemployed. 41%.
Wow.
9 million Americans are underwater on their mortgages. Rent soared high as home ownership rate plummets to 19 years low. Rent went all-time high from $766 to over $1,000.
Well, we know, I was talking about that today with another business owner. His business has been bad. And he owns a convenience store, and he was asking about the climate of our business and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, number one, I think people are waking up. But here's the big deal. People that don't have a clue what's going on, they, by God, know that groceries have gone up 20% this year. And I'm talking in 3 months.
Right.
4 months, 4 months.
Starting in December. From December, January, February. From December to February, it went up 13%. And that's not including the other 7% that it's gone up since then. And it's going to continue on going up. You've got beef prices going up. You've got orange juice. You've got eggs. You've got pork. You've got wheat prices are going up. In other words, people that eat wheat bread are going to have to pay more for it. And then you've got your gas going up. And
natural gas is going up 150%.
Yes. And our dear emperor told us that electricity was going up. So we've got all these things that are escalating besides other things that will be coming up in the near future. And then we had another interesting story today that just flipped me over when I saw the headlines, and that is China is advancing rapidly to overtake the United States as the biggest economy in the world. New data shows with the leader of the world economy since the 19th century possibly losing its top spot to the Asian giant for this year. And they had predicted that it would be 2019 that this would happen. And it was also predicted in the Global Governance Trend 2025 that it would be by 2025 that they would take us. So, y'all, they are escalating in their advancement and their economy. Although our news around the world is not telling that China is having an economic problems too. So, yeah. And then
I heard a little clip on Fox News today that China imports anything they want to here with no taxes.
Right.
But if we import something to China, we have to pay
25% taxes on what we send to China. But they get to send everything they want over here and get charged nothing.
Right.
Oh, that was Donald Trump they were interviewing, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. And see, a lot of Americans are not aware that the average Chinese family in 2012 earned, get this, y'all, $2,100, with urban areas slightly higher. They earn $2,600. So, and it says the lower wages means lower cost to produce. That's the reason why so many of our corporations are going to China, because they can have cheap labor. And,
right.
And another thing, their spending for health care is only 5%, where the U.S. spends 20%. So there's a lot of things coming up, and I want to also remind y'all that G20 will be meeting in September, and I really feel that they will pass that International Monetary Fund reform, which will eventually lead into a new global reserve currency.
Well, we've been waiting on that.
Yes.
Oh, I hope I'm dead when it happens.
Pardon?
He said, I hope I'm dead when that happens.
I hope stuff like that.
I think we're all going to be alive, because I think it will be within a year to a year and a half when they all get it set up.
Oh, no. I was hoping it would take 30, 40 years.
But that, to me, is just, I have been kind of a little bit off on the financial stuff due to the fact we've been working on Dirty Harry. And I'm trying to get caught back up on the financial situation our country's in. So it's...
You're just full of good news, Carol.
I know it. I'm not... And but I want to also, and I think, JoJo, you had something to talk about on the Bundys. Is that right? On the Boy Scouts, right?
No, I never got to pull that up. I have a Texas land grab story I was going to add to after you finish with your Bundy stuff. So if you've got the Boy Scout story, go ahead and go for it, because I never got to look at that.
Well, the Boy Scouts have a camp on the Red River. You remember the Texas rancher who was being threatened by BLM that 96,000 acres of his land was going to be taken away. Well, it seems that the Boy Scouts camp is connected to his land, and their camp is under threat from BLM of being confiscated. And what I looked up today, which was interesting, the BLM works really good with the Boy Scouts. They help train and teach them in conservation, and they even work on promoting Earth Day through the Boy Scouts. But yet, they're hypocritical enough to confiscate or blatantly steal their camp away from them. So now the Boy Scouts, besides this rancher, besides Mr. Bundy, besides Mr. Yoel, and all the others that have been mistreated by BLM and Harry Reid in a roundabout way in the dark closet, and all, it's coming to light on the things that they're doing, because all these ranchers and all are finally talking, including the Boy Scouts, concerning how they're being mistreated. And I think that is wonderful. I think Americans need to speak up and tell all Americans what is happening, because it's time for the truth to come out. And another interesting thing, and I want to be sure and tell everybody tonight, Teresa Monroe Hamilton has been really good about sending me articles and stuff concerning about what's written about the Bundy situation. And yesterday she sent me an excellent article. It was in Maggie's notebook, and it was titled, Bundy Ranch BLM has authority to auction public lands. Harry Reid has power to be first in line. And it was written by Steve Miller, and he is a former land developer and later member of the City of Las Vegas Council and Clark County Land Boards. and Mr. Miller stated that the director of the BLM has the authority to schedule auctions of public land. That's how the land surrounding Las Vegas was bought cheap and developed. Too often the choice of what, let's see, I'm trying to read my handwriting, isn't that awful? I write like a chicken scratch. I'm so used to typing. Of what level to auction, when, and the minimum acceptable bid for overtones. It says, if Neil Kornze, K-O-R-O-N-Z-E, I think is how you spell it, decides to auction the land and water rights along the Virgin River and Gold Butte overlooking the Bundy Ranch, I personally believe that investors close to the Reeds will be first to know and first in line to bid and purchase way under the market value.
Oh. Well, I know things are developing at the Bundy Ranch. And I was going to tell you about something that I got wind of today. It's pretty close to my deal with this. So it's just a little thought. There is a big push, and it's been going on for, I don't know, quite a few years. They want to make a water reservoir near Mount Pleasant, Texas, and which is there's two different areas, but they want to make this water reservoir to provide water for Dallas, because Dallas is using too much water because all the people in Dallas need to water their lawns, and they have poor water infrastructure, and they have leaks and this, that, and the other. So basically, the water reservoir is going to be 75,000 acres for the lake. But they want to take 650,000 acres and turn the edges of the reservoir into wetland. And it's called Marvin Nichols Reservoir. And Marvin Nichols is a guy that was born in 1896. Was one of the first people in the water.
Jojo, can you hear me?
Yes.
You're breaking up really, really badly.
There's
a lot of feedback.
Oh, I don't know where I can feedback from. Is this any better?
Try to say something
talking. It's pretty bad. It sounds like
right.
kind of interference.
Okay, Carol, you go ahead and I'll hang up call again. Go ahead, Carol.
But anyway, it seems like Harry Reid's bunch has the first pickings for land, which can be developed into housing, golf courses, and anything to make them very wealthy. And,
right.
Yes. And the reason why I truly believe that what Mr. Miller wrote is in the community where I live, years and years ago when I was a teenager, there was a rumor going around that the state was going to purchase property to develop a new highway. And it seems like all the big guys in the community wound up owning the land that the state was going to purchase. And, of course, they were paid an extraordinary amount of money for their property when the state decided to develop. And it turns out that one of our representatives and senators also knew about this, and they had property that was state. So I truly believe what Mr. Miller said, that Reid has inside connections. There's no doubt whatsoever.
None.
And I think all his little buddies and stuff just gets right behind him, and Reid tells them what's going to come up for sale through the BLM, and then they just go and bid the minimum wage.
Yes, they swoop right in.
Yeah, they swoop right in just like
a bunch of vultures.
Yes, and so I just thought that was really interesting what Mr. Miller wrote, and apparently he knows what he's talking about because of his credentials, which he stated in the article. So, put another X on Dirty Harry, and because I feel like a lot of other things are going to come out about him before it's over with.
But, you see, the Republicans, they let him go on and on and on. He should have been out of there a long time ago.
Yes, he should be. That's exactly right. I remember, and listen, Nevadians, I love you to death. I really do. And I've got two that are really good friends of mine. And but I remember the days of the mafia when they would talk about Frank Sinatra and, of course, John F. Kennedy's scandal, you know, being involved in Las Vegas was brought up quite a bit. And
right.
And from what I understand from a lot of Nevadian citizens, that, you know, there's a lot of corruption through the Reed family. And apparently it must be very true.
Well, how's my sound now, ladies?
Okay.
Much better.
Go for it.
Much
Tell
better?
us what you were telling us earlier.
All right. Well, this is going down in Texas, over here in East Texas, in my neck of the woods. There's a thing called a Marvin Nichols Reservoir. And basically, like I was trying to tell you before, they want to do this reservoir to give water to Dallas. Dallas is 170 miles away, and they want to build this reservoir. And they're going to call it the Marvin Nichols Reservoir, who is a guy that was born in 1896, and he was one of the first people that had something to do with water preservation or something. But the reservoir, the lake, is only going to be 75. Let me see, how many acres is it? I've lost my train of thought. But they want 650,000 acres of land around the reservoir. And I believe the reservoir is going to be 75,000 acres. But they want to turn 650,000 acres around it into wetlands. That's a lot of land. That's a lot of farmers, chicken farms, timber, whole communities damn near it. Anyway.
That is interesting.
Yeah. The Marvin Nichols Reservoir is a $3.4 billion proposal that is being considered by the Texas Water Development Board as a future water source for the Dallas area. Is my sound still okay?
Yes, you sound great.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Marvin Nichols would primarily be located in Red River County, but would also extend into Titus, Morris, Fannin, and Bowie counties. That's 5 counties. These are big counties because it's East Texas and, you know, there's a lot of land there. The land that is proposed to be flooded is primarily family-owned farmland that has been in the landowners' families for many generations. Hundreds of families will be displaced by this unnecessary, highly expensive reservoir. It has recently been brought to the attention of the TWDB that the proposed dam would be built on top of the Talco-Mexia fault line, which is a major hazard to the towns that lie downriver from the proposed dam site. There are many acres of timber that will be flooded, multiple cemeteries that will be flooded, years of hard work by many men to build a place for their children's families to all live will be flooded. Communities that are filled with caring, giving, loving people will be disbanded and forced to move. There are many other options available to Dallas and to the TWDB for future water sources that would not require flooding of 72,000 acres of inhabited, viable, irreplaceable homes, underground aquifers. And this goes more and more on. Now, another article I read said it was 650,000. And I did catch a glimpse of something about a federal grant, but I've not been able to pull any more of that up. Here's some of the facts. This project would result in one of the largest reservoirs in Texas, flooding 72,000 acres on the Sulphur River in rural northeast Texas. According to a report from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, it would require anywhere from 163,000 acres up to 683,000 acres to mitigate for the wildlife habitat people, whatever. And it would cost $3.4 billion.
Sure he liked them, too.
When you mention wildlife habitat, and that is part of Agenda 21, and I bet you my last
That's
penny,
your red flag, right.
Right, I bet you my last penny, BLM, will be involved as
the wildlife. I just found out about this today. Trust me, I'll do some more investigating.
Do so, because I bet you 10 to 1 they'll be managing it. Because if it has anything to do with wildlife habitat, you bet your bottom dollar that they'll be involved.
But here's the other little thing to it. There's other alternatives. that wouldn't involve flooding new land. And one of them is municipal water recycling and reuse, obtaining water from Wright Patman, reallocating flood storage to water supply in Lake Texahoma, obtaining water from Toledo Bend, or a combination of all of these. Now, what they have found out is a lot of the water wasted in Dallas is people watering their lawns. So to supply Dallas so they can water more lawns, they're going to just uproot and destroy these people's lives. Now, then they're going to pipe the water 170 miles to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So 17% of existing water supply is lost in the Dallas-Fort Worth area from leaking distribution of their infrastructure. And the Texas Forest Service says it estimates that the loss of the forest industry in Northeast Texas would be $87 to $275 million annually. Then there's the revenues that will be lost from farming, ranching, hunting leases, and other economic areas in Northeast Texas. So, I mean, this is a pretty big deal, and I happen to know people that have land there. And it's one of my friends posts pictures all the time. It's the most beautiful land. And it's like nearly three-quarters of all forestry and logging industries and the great majority of the primary forest production industries in Texas, they're all in East Texas. East Texas logo is called the Piney Woods. I mean, that's what they're called. And over 50% of existing water supply in the Dallas-Fort Worth area is used for landscape water of non-native grasses and trees, and this waste of potable water could easily be reduced up to 80% by the use of native plants, reduced irrigation days, rain-sensing equipment, and various other sensible, cost-effective, needed conservation practices. So, you know, it's a big deal, and trust me, I'm going to check into it more, but
well, the problem is that farmland is going to be lost, and our government has not helped the ranchers and the farmers whatsoever. The EPA, and all. After all, they are saying if you're against, what they're doing, and all, you're on a certain list. Hello, EPA, I'm on your list. But anyway, the EPA regulates the farmers and the ranchers to the point to where they are actually putting them out of business. I had stated the last time I was on the radio show that last year all the farmers and ranchers, I suppose, received a census in the mail. It was 25 pages. And, of course, they were asking questions. Do you use solar? Do you use wind power? How do you get your water? Tell us what list your equipment and all this, and then like a day later you got a card in the mail stating you need to fill this form out. If you do not, you will be visited by the government and all. So,
But you got to look at it this way too. When they take that 650,000 acres, that's taken off. It's gonna. I guess it's going to be. I'm assuming a federal land grant or whatever it's going to be. That's going to be taken off the tax rolls. So that's a whole huge chunk of money that won't have any taxes coming in to these counties either.
Right. And see, that's another situation we've got. We don't have enough taxes going in to supplement Social Security, disability, Medicare, Medicaid. Matter of fact, I had read an article today that they're expecting the disability insurance to fold up within 2 years due to the fact there's not enough money being generated. Well, when you've got 41% of Americans without a job or 50% on EBT cards, they can't afford to pay. They probably are not paying taxes because a lot of them are unemployed. If they do, it's just a drop in the bucket and all. And then we've got all these corporations that are leaving our country going to China for all these jobs. And I'll tell you something else. If people will look on America 2050 website and look at the map, Dallas-Fort Worth and, of course, the San Antonio area in Texas are all part of mega regions. That's where your urbanization cities, where we will all be, sent to eventually. They're working on that, and I'm pretty sure they're needing that water to be used in the urbanization that they're planning on doing. And,
well, this has been going on since at least the 90s. This is not something just popped up in the last couple of years. This has been a long battle here in Texas.
Well,
it was just kind of come to my attention today.
Right. All their plans have been made. You can backtrack to the early 1950s. And you can even go to 1972 when the United Nations had their habitat meeting in Vancouver in 1976, when they had an outrageous paragraph about what they consume land was. Mm-hmm. And then they were talking about raising the taxes. And one of the things they're trying to do is move people off their property by increasing the property taxes and taxes that we're already paying. We're taxed to death, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, we've only got about 7 minutes left. We're not going to have a 2-hour show tonight. We're just having a 1-hour show. But what's the latest with you and Lisa and the tax rolls and looking up stuff on Dirty Harry? Can you give me a little synopsis on that?
I think Lisa's going to really get to the bottom of this. She's got all the documents and stuff, and she is really digging her sweet little nose into this and all. And, y'all, I think we're going to wind up nailing Dirty Harry's laundry on the barbed wire before this is over with.
Well, I mean, I think we already have him. I mean, we've got him, but who's going to listen to us and who's going to prosecute him and who's going to investigate it?
Well, that's just it. I don't know at this time. I mean, it seems like we can't depend on our government to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I think is, Lisa will have to make a decision on all the documents that we found, which I feel like it should be her due to the fact that she is a Nevada citizen, how she will want to turn it, over to the media or to some,
she should maybe contact Judicial Watch.
Yes, I think that would be excellent. And then I know that there are certain news media that is right along with us on this situation and have been extremely good about spreading the word.
Well, what if we sent it? What if it was sent to like Louis Gohmert or Trey Gowdy or Ted Cruz or somebody that we think might actually be on our side in Washington? Do you think that would help?
I don't know. I mean, things do have a habit of disappearing in D.C. It can be on one desk and gone within an hour. And I think it, like I said, I think it will be up to Lisa. I'm all for Lisa making a decision. But I'm hoping that she will, let the news media runs with it, because once the GOP gets put in a corner with all this information, they won't.
Well, I got to correct you on something. You use the term news media will run with it. The MSM is not going to run with it. I mean, maybe Breitbart, Judicial Watch, Daily Caller, people like us.
Fox News will get involved in this one, and because it certainly cannot be hidden.
Well, I mean, Teresa and Trevor London and Loudon and whoever. It'll be alternative media for sure.
Yes, and I think the more that is given to them where they can spread it. Like I said, the politicians, if they want to be elected and all, they'll have to do something. They'll be backed in a corner. Besides, I feel like that Americans will show enough support by calling their elected officials once everything comes out and demand an investigation. Heck, I'm all for, Dirty Harry going to prison for a while or being stripped, of his financial underdogging that he's done.
Yeah.
I think the man really needs to go to prison. I mean, personally speaking, the things that he has done and the things that I have read and from, hearing from people that live in Nevada. And,
well, I'm sure that he's got a backup plan and has a scapegoat, and it just might be his son. There's been other politicians that let their sons go to jail to keep them out of trouble.
Sure. And poor old Warmy Rory might be the one to be thrown under the bus. And but I feel like that people, one thing about it, people will realize, and hopefully in the next election, Nevadians will wake up and not vote for him ever again.
He should be recalled. He should be recalled.
I really believe that's one of the major things that people need to do. I think the Nevadians need to demand a recall. And there was, I think it's 9 NYE County. The commissioners voted to boot I think it was the BLM out of their county, with the federal government. And so people are starting to wake up, and that's what everybody needs to do.
Right. Listen, we're running out of time. So
one more thing I want to say:
okay.
We cannot show fear, because fear can conquer, and we have to stay strong in our ventures on uncovering the corruption of politicians. And I think all the team on the Moretti report and all have done an excellent job on investigating all this.
Yeah.
Well,
Anna, do you have any closing comments, Anna?
No. I'm happy that you asked me to join you tonight. Sleeping Beauty does need to get some rest.
Anna, I love you, and I hope you have a good night's rest.
I love you all too. Good night.
And we want to tell everybody to watch The End Within tomorrow night at 8:00 Central on the same Blog Talk link for Michael Nunley and Brent Munlin. They're going to have a special guest, which is, tell me his name, Carol?
Bobby Franklin.
Bobby Franklin. And he is going to tell some stuff about Nevada.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so be sure you tune in tomorrow.
Night-night,
Night-night, Carol.
Night-night, Anna.
Good night, Patriots.
Bye.
I want to thank Lynn tremendously for running the switchboard tonight. So it was one less thing I had to worry about, and I really appreciate that. And in the future, we're going to have little specials on this channel. Anna wants to do some reporting on the some stuff going on with the SAFE Act in New York. And we have other things. There's some natural medicine stuff that I want to report. I'll probably get to in the next 4 or 5 days. I've done a lot of research on it, and I'm really excited about it, and we'll get all to that. And we want to thank Scott, our tech guy, because he uploads our shows on YouTube. So this show will probably be on YouTube later tonight or in the morning. So you can go to Moretti Underground in the search bar on YouTube, and you can find all of our shows there. And with that, I want to thank everybody for listening, and I'm going to close out our show with a little song.